Okay, we're back. I glued this foot on here, and it's drying a little bit. So we're not gonna get into that foot right there right now. But as you can see, a carver can, like I said, a carver can hide things, and I will hide that foot from being broken. In other words, don't worry about that. It's going to be all right. What we're going to do is we look at our tail from the back, okay, from back here, and we need to kind of come a little bit like this. Now we don't want to get our tail too thin right now, because what's going to happen is we want to get everything kind of going before we thin up too much stuff, in other words. All right, now from the back we want to get the head and we want to bring it forward, in other words, because if you look from the side your head is too big, and we're already halfway there. So we want to bring this area forward. Okay? This is interesting wood, I have to admit. I don't recommend students to begin with anything but basswood. A lot of students want to begin with walnut and stuff like that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but basswood does take good detail, and it's much more easy. Now let's look at our piece again, and we're going to keep coming forward with that. And basswood is the best carving wood around. It is. I mean, it's sorry, but it is. Now, it depends on what you want to carve, if you want to, but for just plain carving, basswood is great. It's the best wood around, I'll tell you. Really is. All right, once again, now we've come forward, but we still need to come forward even more. In other words, with the back of what you cut into the face to bring it forward, but then you come back with it to thin it up, because you are, the animal itself. But it was interesting. I looked it up. It's a Malaysian wood, and they use it for pattern making a lot and stuff like that. But I imagine the expense of it is, the reason is because it is from Malaysia, and it is more of an expensive wood. Now, as you can see, this foot, that's why I didn't carve too much off this. This foot is going to have to come forward, okay? It's going to have to come forward. So I left enough room. See, we're coming from the back of the figure now and bringing everything kind of forward so we can get it the way it was. Don't break this foot off, Gene. I treated it like basswood, unfortunately, and that's, can't do that. Certain woods are much more flexible and much more brittle. Okay, so we're coming forward with this whole back end back here, just like the actually this is sort of a, I don't know how to explain it, it's sort of a little symmetrical type kangaroo. And that's why, see, we were going to bring these hands forward. Okay. And we're going to bring this foot forward. So say, as you look to the side of it, you wonder, why are you taking off from the back? Because I'm bringing everything forward where then the head could stick out like this. In other words, if you can see what I'm doing. I know this is probably boring for you that I have to take all this off in here, but you know but that's part of doing it. That's part of getting the thing the way you want it. In other words, getting the area. Because by taking this off and getting it kind of even, then I can even up my because this area right here is going to be, I can already see it's going to be an area that I'm really going to have to be very, very careful in. I'm going to go ahead and cut that. Okay, see that? Where I'm gonna, because the legs are separated pretty good ways, in other words. There we go. So I'm gonna start cutting in this area in here to separate the legs. See what I'm doing? See? Just taking one cut at a time. There we go. See? See how I'm doing that? Because the legs of a kangaroo, they're separated pretty good ways. In other words, I mean they're kind of far apart. Then I can come up here and I can kind of take this off in here. There we go. See? I'm holding my hand against this thing back here so I don't put too much pressure. Now that I know that this wood is brittle, and you find that out. I carved some cedar and some redwood one time, and redwood is horrible. It was just terrible. See, and then I've separated these legs back here where I can kind of and that makes the legs even thinner. If you look at this, that makes the legs even thinner in there. So look at this, they're already separated pretty good, in other words. So we just sort of, the feet of the kangaroo are very thin. I mean, they're big, but they're thinner. And the same thing with all this in here. This all has to come down back here so that it evens up here. And this cuts in here. And you start, see? Like that. Okay. This is sort of a symmetrical type kangaroo. Alright, so we still need, of course, this is once again still too thick. And then what we'll do is once that's done, we'll you know, do the back of the kangaroo more like that. See where he's looking forward. Okay? These ears, they're going to have to all be sort of, because the ears of a kangaroo actually are this way. They stick out this way. Now we're beginning to kind of look like a head of a kangaroo. Now you don't want to go too far into here. You want to go far enough because, and then of course the ears will come back. You see, we're going to take the ears. Let me show you this. This is what's going to happen here. We're going to start doing that here in a minute. We're going to take these ears and we're going to start coming back with them. Okay? Which is going to give more depth to the face then. Okay? So let's just come back with the ears like that. Now this one I cut this in a little thicker, and I'm going to have to come down with it. Okay. See this? Okay. But do you see what's happening now? You see now that we start to bring the ears back. Then it brings the face forward. Okay. Now I'm going to have to be real careful with these ears because they are now I don't know how I got this ear so much bigger than the other ear, but I'm going to have to kind of come down with this like this, in other words. You see how you move this from this, and then the face begins to come out on here. So as we bring the ears back, then the face comes out. So as you see now, the face is coming out. I don't mean to keep repeating something. I'm just trying to show you how now the face you'll give okay, see that? Now you don't want to come any more, because you're almost to that point, in other words, where you've got, you don't want to come any more on the back side. You want to bring the ears back so it brings the face forward. There you go. So like I said, it's sort of a little symmetrical kangaroo. Let me sharpen my knife real quick, and I'll be right back with you. Okay. All right, do you see that? Do you see how that's looking now? Just making the face come forward by bringing the ears back. I'm sure you probably wondered how I was going to do that. That's how. Okay. So you see, now when you have the face coming forward enough, then you can come to the back here, and you can start bringing these ears thinner. In other words, like that. Okay. And then you're just going to do a little bit of thinning back like that. See, it's just sort of a different way of doing something. I'm going to bring it just back a little bit more. I've got to get this, this is going to have to be like this. Just like this one then. So, we're going to do a little trimming, mostly in this area down here. Okay, see that? You want to be careful with these ears because they are thin. It's just got to come down a little bit more. I'm looking at actually that other ear has come down. Gotta match him up a little bit. So you got to be thin. There we go. Okay, and the faces come forward, and we want to come back down here, and we want to come back here with a little bit of a but not a whole lot. go. To the back here. Now, let's make something clear about the ears. I just want to do it like this. The ears, actually, this is opening in here, and that opens in there. Okay? All right. It doesn't usually like this, in other words, on the ears. I think, let me think. No, maybe they are. Maybe they do come out like this, in other words. Yeah, I think they do. Or are they on the side? I'm going to have to go look. Before I do the ears, I got to go look at this. I'm not sure if they're on the side here that they come out, or if they're facing us. And so, I'm not really sure. I have to go look at a kangaroo again. And that's you kangaroo entrepreneurs, you know. But I have to kind of look sometimes and see things like that and find out. Now let's see what we do now. Now we're in the ballpark here. See, we have the hands, and I'm going to cut this and just come in a little bit, because the hands sort of come in, and we want to be careful. Okay, we want to be careful. In this area, because of the simple fact that this stuff is very, very fragile. This is areas that you want to be very, very careful in, and want to like any area like this. In other words, when you get into that, you want to take your knife and you want to be very, very careful about putting any kind of pressure, because you can really open up. Let me get some area in here. Open up this in here. Yeah, I have to go back sometimes and look at things. I'm not a entrepreneur necessarily on kangaroos, so a lot of their ears turn out, their ears turn in. I'm not sure. So we just sort of, we're going to kind of shape these feet a little bit. Not a lot of shaping to the feet. I mean, basically they are, just sort of very, not necessarily flat, but oval in a way. See, like this, as we say. We're separating, taking some of that out there between where the kangaroo is. Now, I prefer to wait until the last time to do the tail, because since I'm thinning it up, see, if you thin something up too much and you're working on the piece, a lot of times you reach back here and you're pushing, and you'll break the piece. You'll break the tail back there or whatever. So that's usually one of the last things that I will do before I I do that. Okay. All right. Let's come back here and let's kind of clean up around here. Let's separate these. There's some areas back here that really need to be cleaned up, and kind of, there we go, getting that part in there. You just have to take your knife, folks, and you just have to clean it up. You just have to basically just go, see, take your knife and just, you know, get it the way you want it. And and you just sort of, but you be very, very, very light whenever you work in these areas. You don't put a lot of pressure, and a lot of pressure is where you break things. Now, for some reason, I put too much pressure on something, and it broke, and that's the thing that you have. Of course, the wonderful thing is you can glue it back on. And I don't know how many people have sent me carvings that have already been finished. And anyway, okay, my time's probably up, and let's look at our kangaroo. Look at this, see? A little bit different, but it's going to work. Okay? All right. Okay. All right.